Hello everyone, so we are back with the another tutorial of how to. In this tutorial we are going to see how we can use the lazy loaded feature modules in our Angular application. So we are going to see the concept of lazy loading and the implementation as well. So without further delay, let's get started. So here we are going to discuss the theory concept of lazy loading in Angular applications. So just consider this diagram. So in this diagram it is showing that this is our actually Angular application and it contains two features, and these features are initially available to our application, or these are the most important feature because they are required whenever our Angular application to be hosted or to be rendered on the UI. These two features always required. So we have developed this feature. It is the initial look and feel of your application, and if you are going to create the package of this Angular application, so the main file which will contain in your initial package is this main bundle.ts file, and initially it is having 10 KB of size. So when you are deploying your application initially on the browser, it will render fast because your bundle size is very less here. But consider after 1 year you are developing some application. After 1 year, let's take a look on your application. So actually your application grows in terms of their features. So new features will be added by the different developers into your application, and that addition of the new feature, like here we have shown in the diagram, that over period of time new feature will be added, and that will increase the payload of your main bundle. So by this your main bundle will also increase, size of the main bundle will also increase. So over a period of 1 year or say 2 year, your bundle size will become 10 MB. So actually this will increase the payload time on the browser, and as the payload time increases, your application become idle until this bundle loaded completely on the browser, because it is the main bundle required by your Angular application to render on the UI. So actually you have increased the bundle size by implementing the new feature, but the main concept here is that the main bundle should not be more than some limit. So we actually try to make the main.bundle.ts file should be very less, so that your application should be rendered on the UI side very quickly. So in this scenario we have made the bundle very large, is almost about 10 MB. Actually this MB will create a problem when there is a very low internet connectivity. There is very low internet connection, so it will create a problem. Sometime it will kill the browser session as well, so your application is no more usable to the end user. So to decrease the size, we are going to implement the lazy loaded concept in Angular. So let's see what is lazy loaded concept. So basically in lazy loading we decide which are the modules are most important to run our application or initial rendering of the application. Let's say example, we have two modules here, 1 and 2. These are the always required for our application, so we include these two modules into our main bundle. So you can see here main bundle will contain only two modules which is specified here. So it will always render suppose 10 KB size of these two modules which we have included into main bundle will always be 10 KB. So you will feel that your application will perform as initially after 1 year or 2 year after implementing the feature as well. So you will give the end user a consistent load time, so it will load very fast on the client side. Apart from, you have added some of the feature modules. So basically we are going to add the required modules into the main bundle only, and the feature modules. Let's talk about the feature module. So in lazy loading, we are going to divide these modules, or we are going to load this module lazily, not eagerly. So these two, 1 and 2, will be eagerly loaded, and the feature modules will be lazy loaded, means they will be requested by the browser whenever they required. So basically, when we are going to use some feature, only in that case they will be invoked. And invoke method will include some if you go to the console, you can see that whenever we are going to request some lazy loaded feature, their respective bundle will be created. Suppose like customer dot module .ts. So this is actually one of the example of the feature module. So whenever you are going to request or going to the route that requires lazy loaded module, then that module will be loaded lazily in your application. So this all about the conceptual view. We are going to see the practical implementation in our next section.
So we are going to see the practical implementation of Angular lazy loaded modules. So previously we have seen the theory part of it. Now we are going to see the practical implementation and the advantages of lazy loaded modules or features. So for that I have created one basic application using Angular CLI command. So you can pass this command ng new application name. It will create a default boilerplate or boiler project for you. So I haven't done anything special in this project. We just need to add the routing module. So basically, while you are creating the Angular project using Angular CLI command, it will ask you whether you need to add the routing module in your project or not. So we have selected yes there. So we have included the routing module in our application. So I have just opened the application in VS Code editor. So it's running now. So you can just go to the browser and you can see the default code present here. But we need to add lazy loaded modules. For that I am going to open this folder. So I need to stop this running command. So we have stopped the browser right now, you can see. So need to add one folder here for the lazy loaded module or features. So basically your application should be divided into these sub features. So every feature should have their own structure. So currently we are just dividing or creating a nested folder in the app folder to represent our features. So suppose let's give a name that lazy loaded feature. Now we need to add one module in this folder. For that I just need to navigate to this folder. So now I have navigated to this folder. Now we need to create a module in this folder. So for that I am using another CLI command ng generate module, and the name of module should be lazy loaded feature. So we should be created directly in this folder, not a nested folder. So we are using a flat parameter with this Angular CLI command. So it will create a module for us. It will take some time. Yeah, you can see here it is showing that module is created. So you can see here module is generated. Now we need another module within a same folder, but with the different name. So basically we have created this feature module, but we need to include the routing module as well. So I'm just giving here routing. So I'm adding routing here, so it will create a routing module for us. So with this we have added two modules. Basically one is the main module, another one is for the routing module, and we need to add a simple component here. So for that I am using the CLI command ng generate component. So ng generate component A. So we have generated component A here in lazy loaded feature. So it is going to be added in this lazy loaded feature, and this lazy loaded feature module will be updated. So you can hear that or the full file, above 4 files belongs to the component, and it is updated our lazy feature module.ts file. So with this I am just going to add the routing here in our lazy loaded feature routing module. For that we need to define one constant for the routes, which will be of type routes. So you can see here with the quick fix it the routes will be added on this on the import statement. So it will be the type of array. We need to define the path here, but as you know, we are going to load this module lazily, so we are not going to load this eagerly. So we just need to pass this path as empty, and component name should be so just go to the component A and copy that name and paste it here. We need to import it manually. Lazy loaded feature component A and component A. So with this we have imported the component A here, and the routing is complete. We need to use this route or pass this route to the router module, so we need to import the router here. Now we need to use for child method here, and we need to pass this routes array. So with this our routing related to lazy loaded features complete. Now we need to use this router should be imported in our lazy loaded module, so we just need to import this here. So I think with this we have created our lazy loaded module, and this feature module should be imported in our app.module. So because we are going to use this lazy loaded, we are not going to import this directly into our app.module, but we will use this in our routing. So basically you can see here we haven't imported this lazy loaded module in our app.routing module, app.module TS, but we have to use this lazily. We have to load this module lazily, so we need some import or some extra routing parameters while we are actually requesting this route. So for that I'm just going to the app.routing.module here. So we need to define the lazy loaded modules here in this app.routing.module TS. So for that I'm going to define the path. Let's suppose if we are hitting or we are entering the feature, name of the route should be lazy feature. So this, if we are hitting this path, we need to load this module lazily. So we have to use the load children method here. Now we need to use we are going to use some arrow functions here, import. Now here actually we are lazily loading that module, so we haven't passed that module into the app.module.ts, but we need to pass this using this routing. So this routing tells that our Angular application to load this module lazily, not eagerly. So with this we need to just define the path of that module. It should be app source, app lazy loaded module, lazy loaded feature, and the module. Now actually this path is imported. Now we need to use then keyword and extract the module out of this file, m.module name. So this will be the module name. With this changes we are good to go. I have just saved all the changes, save all, so nothing is pending for the save. So with these changes we have implemented the lazy feature, but we need to verify this whether our changes are lazily loaded or not. For that we just need to clear some of the content from the app.component.html. so I have just wiped out the default content. We have to put router outlet here, because the router outlet will actually shows us the result of the loaded component. And I'm going to use one button here, because we haven't passed any default route here, but we are going to use we are going to see on our browser there is one default page with a button, and we are going to pass our router link that we have defined, or a lazy router link that we have defined in our routing module, this. So we are going to paste this and save this. So there are two ways to see whether these modules are lazily loaded or not. First method is that whenever we request this lazy feature, an extra chunk will be added in our network tab. Or another method is that you can write one of the constructor here. So it is just for the testing purpose. So we can write a constructor here. Whenever this module will be loaded, we are going to use one console, and it will show you that lazy loaded feature will be loaded. So basically it will not shown us on the initial load. So for that I'm just going to run the application and gserve, and I have hit the enter key. Now we are going to see that initially if our application is loaded, we are able to see only a button, because we haven't defined any default route, and this button will actually call our lazy loaded feature that is going to display the component A on our screen. And we will see that in action how lazy loaded chunks or the JS files will be loaded dynamically into our browser. So with this change I'm going to open the browser. So you can see browser here. So just refresh this. I'm going to hard reload the browser. We haven't defined any text for this button, so let's just define load lazy features. Yeah, So you can see here nothing displayed here on the default routes, because we haven't defined the default routes, and we have defined one lazy route with in a lazy module. So you can see here on the console you haven't seen anything printed here, as we had defined this in our module, because this is not printed on the browser, means this module is not loaded on the browser yet. And for that I'm just cleaning the console and the network tab. Now I'm going to click on this lazy feature button. So let's see this in action. So I have clicked this lazy feature right now. Yeah, you can see here there is a one you can see there is a this module JS file loaded. So it is actually lazily loaded by our Angular application. And if I go to the console, you can see here this message also printed. So by this setting or by this implementation, you can use the lazy loaded feature into your application. So I hope you enjoy this lecture.